Hello again, and welcome to Black Belt Hyper-V Security Design webinar. This live event is being recorded. We will provide you with the recordings within the next few days. Also, we want to make this webinar interactive, so please use your GoToWebinar console to type in your questions into the question boxes. We did see your questions that you've been sending through the registration process, and we're going to do Q&A at the end of the session. So be sure that we'll have your questions answered. And with that, I'd like to give it to Dave, and he's going to have it started.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Maria. And thank you guys for attending our Hyper-V Black Belt Security Design webinar. My name's Dave Kula. I'm a technical evangelist for Five9 Software. Been with Five9 now for, I think, a couple of months. And we're lucky enough to be joined today by Alex Karavanov. He's the Director of Solution Engineering for Five9 Software, and he's going to be assisting me with some of the demonstrations, as well as answering some of the questions and answers as we go through the webinar. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully my technology works well for me here today. Okay, so I've been Hyper-V MVP for approximately 5 years. I'm going on my 5th year now. I've got some contact information up there on the screen. You can always find me on Twitter at Dave Kula. And yeah, let's get started with the webinar here. Really excited to be able to present on this topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart, which is kind of anything to do with Hyper-V. So just a quick overview of the webinar and what we're going to go through and some of the topics we're going to cover today. First, we're going to start off with just a brief introduction around the actual Hyper-V Security Design webinar. We'll go through and then discuss some of the complexities of having to manage firewalls in an enterprise environment, and what this means for you, the day-to-day administrator, and what are some of the best practices around the designs of implementing a firewall. Then move on to discussing the antivirus requirements that most organizations have. It's interesting because I find a lot of organizations have varying policies with running antiviruses in virtual environments, and we'll take a look at that kind of in depth and see what some of the best practices are there as well. We'll then also take a look at what are some of the options for providing intrusion detection inside of your virtual environments, and we'll wrap up with a very hot and popular topic, which is security provider as a service, or SecAS. And this is for a lot of hosters that are out there wanting to provide the checkbox for their customers that their virtual environments are secure. And Five9 has some very interesting solutions around that, and we'll take a look at that towards the end of the webinar. We'll wrap up with some questions and answers. I know that we've actually already got quite a few questions that have come in through the webinar registration system. So we'll take a look at those, and let's go ahead and get started here. We've got some really cool demos lined up for you here as well. And so hopefully the scripts that I've written are gonna work well for us here today. All right, so let's take a quick introduction. So the webinar is being brought to you today by Five9 Software. Five9 Software was founded in 2009. Their head office is in Chicago, and we've got a new presence around the world with over 13 regions represented. Five9 is over 68,000 Hyper-V users globally, and they've got a deep representation of companies and data centers of all sizes. Five9 is the #1 leading provider of security and management applications for Hyper-V. And their flagship product that we're going to take a look at today in the webinar is going to be focused around the Five9 Cloud Security. And with that, we're going to take a look at how you can provide and secure your environments with an agentless firewall, antivirus, and intrusion detection solution for Hyper-V, System Center, and Windows Azure Pack. In case you missed that, yes, I did say that you can do all of this agentless. So you're not going to have to worry about taking and having agent installs inside of your guest VMs. There are options to provide extended security if you want to, This is very important when we have hosting providers needing to manage large environments. So this is a very big value proposition add-on for Five9. They've also got a really cool solution called Five9 Manager, which provides integrated support for Hyper-V and cluster management for SMB environments. And this is probably one of their other most popular products. And the last one is if you're migrating from VMware to Hyper-V, they provide a really cool virtual to virtual conversion tool called V2V Easy Converter. You can find out more information about Five9 on their website at www.five9.com. I strongly suggest you check it out because there's a ton of really good content that's up there, especially in relation to Microsoft's Hyper-V and System Center lineups. Five9, like I said, is represented with Chicago as a global head office, and now we've expanded and we've actually got these 13 new regional resources in regions that are represented, and we have more and more coming online every week. We've actually just had some new ones that were announced as early as today, which is super cool. So Five9's rapidly expanding, and their R&D and kind of market share is representative of that. So very cool stuff. Got some new upcoming webinars just for your reference. You can see that one of the goals that we have inside of the technical evangelism team at Five9 is to take, oops, why did that do that? There we go. One of the goals for Five9 is to take and to represent content on a frequent basis for you. So we currently have either 8 or 9, I can't remember what the number is currently at, Microsoft Hyper-V MVPs that are representative as part of our technical evangelism team. And like myself, you'll be seeing upcoming broadcasts in the coming weeks from some of my peers on the Hyper-V MVP community. So this is really exciting. These webinars are going to be coming to you, like I said, on nearly a weekly basis. So that's amazing, and there'll be some great content. And the most interesting part about this for myself is that we're actually being represented in some of your own regional languages as well. So these are not just English-only broadcasts. So that's great from a worldwide representation standpoint. All right. We're also going to be at a few conferences coming up, like System Center Universe. We'll also be coming to Canada. There's a roadshow that I'm working at and kind of hosting called MVP Days Community Roadshow. So that's going to be hitting 3 cities in Western Canada, starting in Vancouver, moving to Calgary and Edmonton. That's the kind of 3rd week of September. So that one's really exciting. It's our 2nd year that we're actually running that roadshow, and super excited that Five9's coming in and helping us sponsor that event. So some great content. Also be at MCT Summit in Portugal and a few other countries as well. So you'll see Five9 out there in the community. Like I said, one of our goals as the technical evangelism team at Five9 is to get some more of that regional and localized content out to you guys, the viewers. All right, let's get into the details here as to why we're here today. So we want to talk a little bit about Hyper-V security design and what this means for you and your organizations. And I think as we get started looking at this initial topic, one of the big ones for me is that many organizations today rely on the native Windows firewall for securing and protecting their environments, both their desktops, their enterprise servers, as well as their virtual environments. Now, it's possible to take and to use this at an enterprise scale, but one of the big challenges that I've seen is that a lot of customers are afraid of the Windows firewall interfaces, configurations, and just what it means for controlling access inside of their virtual environment. As a result, a lot of customers that I come across, I find they actually completely disable their firewall services. Now, this is not a good idea, not a good recommended best practice from Microsoft or any of us moment that you have a virus outbreak or something bad starts happening inside of your environment, you want to make sure that you have a level of protection. So the problem is that customers find it very difficult to manage because there really are only a few configuration options for the Windows firewall from protecting those environments. Number one, probably the most common one that I see, is configurations with Microsoft Group Policy. Now, I've done a lot of work designing, implementing, and deploying large Active Directory and directory services deployments throughout my career. And I can definitely speak to the fact that group policy is normally one of the most challenging sides of deploying a standardized configuration with Windows Firewall. And it's not because group policy doesn't work, it's because we rely on having a healthy directory services in order to deliver the policies that are going to be securing those workstations, servers, and enterprise virtual environments. Now, if you don't have a healthy Active Directory and your policies aren't being delivered properly, then you can't expect that you're going to have a consistent delivery of the policies and rules that you're going to create that are required to manage the Windows Firewall at an enterprise scale. So you really need to make sure that you button up your Active Directory and you ensure that everything is configured there properly. Second configuration option you have is to take and have local or standalone policies to take and to configure this, and that's just not manageable at an enterprise scale. Now we have PowerShell extensions, so if we want to script the creation of the rules for initial builds, think of like server core and things like that, we have the ability to take and script these things with PowerShell, which is great. One of my other really big concerns is, there's a lack of centralized monitoring and management of the Windows Firewall. So the Windows Firewall logs are stored on each of the local machines under a log called pfirewall.log. And, you have to be able to centrally capture and manage that. I'm not saying that it's impossible to centrally manage and capture that. It's not really there out of box, and you've got to do some configuration work to centralize those logs. In the event that you have some type of a breach in your virtual environment, it can be difficult to actually go figure out what the root cause of that is if you don't have that configured. And then there's the discussion around, a platform that'll support things that are outside the Microsoft operating system. So what are you going to do with your Linux and Unix and other virtual machines that are running inside of your Hyper-V virtual environment? So it presents a solution. It's not really the right fit for everything, and so yeah, we want to make sure that we're careful with those pieces. So let me take and come back over to my demo environment here. Go ahead and share my. All right. So I've kind of got a neat little script that I've got here. I'm just going to make sure that everybody can see me okay. Awesome. So the very first one that we're going to take a look at here is just a quick little script that I've got that's going to manage our Windows Firewall inside of our environment. So I'm just going to configure a rule. We'll check out a few things as we go through this. By the way, any of my scripts that I've created as part of these presentations, I always make sure that I make them available here. And you can see that I've got a few little warnings as I go through and I run my scripts. The first one is, Dave, are you sure you really want to mess around with the Windows Firewall in a live environment? Seriously, this might not be a good idea. Well, I've never really been good at following directions, so let's go ahead and let's see what happens here. The first thing that we're going to do inside of my script is figure out where the Windows Firewall logs are stored. So we can see that they're stored in our system root system32 log files, firewall pfirewall.log. The reason that you see 3 of them there is there's actually 3 profiles on this machine. They're still all combined into one log, but when we take and we get that information via PowerShell, that's the way it's represented back. I put a little pause in there so that I can ad-lib and actually talk through my scripts as they go. So the next thing that's going to happen is we'll actually take and go ahead and create a rule that's going to block SMTP traffic for us. And as we take and we create that rule, let's go ahead and let's test this out and see if we can actually generate some log file entries. So I'm going to telnet to just a bogus address here. All right. Now, if I would go over to my Windows Firewall log here, I can actually see that some of this traffic is being blocked here. So if I scroll down, I'd be able to actually go through and find that. So the reason that I wanted to go through this initial demo, and I had this backup file open here, it's kind of funny because I took and I had this running this morning, and my machine was a little bit slow. So my grid view was taking a couple seconds to come up. But we can see that, you know, we're actually capturing that traffic as we're coming through. So now what I want you to imagine is I want you to imagine having to do this on some type of an enterprise scale and, you know, pushing all of those individual logs from those machines to a central source. There has to be a better way of doing this. All right, so let me come back to my presentation here. And there we go. Perfect. Technology is working for me today. This is fantastic. All right, so the better solution that's out there is to use an agentless approach that's going to actually capture that traffic right at the Hyper-V virtual switch level. And you want to make sure that when you're capturing that traffic and or enabling firewalls, that you have the ability to do this right at the Hyper-V virtual switch. Now, the good news for you guys is that Microsoft provides support through a Hyper-V extensible vSwitch and some filtering extensions. And this is where the 5.9 firewall is going to live. And so there's no agents, there's no additional deployments in your virtual farms. We can support a multitude of, you know, operating systems. For all intents and purposes, not really going to care what the underlying operating system is. What we're going to do is be able to capture all of that traffic right at the virtual switches. So as the loud traffic comes in, we're going to be able to pass through the rule sets inside the 5.9 firewalls, and as traffic is blocked, we're going to natively block that traffic. Now, one important thing to note, as you're going to the website right now and downloading 5.9 Cloud Security, which I hope you're doing, you're going to take and start playing around with the firewall. The default firewall rules are actually going to block all traffic. So just be aware of that as you take and you go through and start demoing this in your environments. So as we take a look at, you know, what the interface looks like, you can see that we've got a screenshot here of the 5.9 Cloud Security firewall console. And we can see that we can very quickly configure rules. We can take and we can see the results of those rules, and we have full logging capabilities. And logs can be pushed up to central syslog servers if you want to, if we want to consolidate. But we have everything in one nice central consolidated view. Very, very easy to use and manage. The next most important thing here is that we want to take and we want to use this solution and make sure that it's agentless on a host-based solution. We don't want to have to go through and install any agents on any of the virtual machines that are running from a firewall perspective. So when we take a look at this design for Hyper-V, we're going to have physical network adapters that are attached to the Hyper-V hosts, and then we're going to have virtual network adapters that are attached to the guest virtual machines that are running underneath. Now, those are going to be running a multitude of operating systems, which is great. And how we interconnect those is with the virtual switch. So this is just some general architecture for Hyper-V. Now, as we take and we move into the overall design, we want to take and make sure that we have a single firewall that can take and that can support anything that's going through, any of that traffic that's going through those interfaces. So the 5.9 firewall can take and have a very easy rule creation wizard. And one of my favorite points of, you know, how you can create these rules is you're not limited to creating those, what I know as access lists inside of those firewalls by strictly IP address. we can actually group these by virtual machines and by groups of virtual machines. So we can combine different environments very quickly and very easily by doing this. So I can set these rules up with just a matter of a few clicks, which is really good because I want an easy-to-use interface as we take and we move forward. And Alex is going to demonstrate that interface in the next demo that's going to be coming up in just a few seconds. So as traffic takes and comes through, you know, Five9 filtering extensions are going to check that traffic. I don't know why that keeps happening to me. My computer is not behaving properly. There we go. Pop back to the actual PowerPoint. I don't know why we're doing that. It doesn't like the animated slides. All right, no problem. I'm a pro. I know how to work around those technology glitches. All right, so as we take a look, we can see the different operating systems that are going to be supported. So the first set of operating systems that are supported are going to be from Windows standpoint, supporting Windows 2016 and down. You know, hopefully you don't have any Windows 2003 servers that are still around, but I'm a realist. I know I have lots of customers that are still struggling to get rid of that old infrastructure. So now this becomes a really interesting point around, you know, protecting that older infrastructure, those older virtual machines. I want to be able to fence those things off very easily because now I'm running into issues where, you know, I may not even be able to get patches coming down to them anymore because it's just not in the supported operating system and or platform anymore. The next set of supported operating systems, your client OSs. This is very important for any of you that are looking to have a security solution that's going to be based for your VDI environment. I'm actually down at Microsoft Campus right now speaking yesterday at the Tech Mentor Conference, and that was actually a very interesting discussion around virtualization I was having with a lot of attendees was, you know, the fact that, you know, they're looking for some type of protection for their VDI environments. And, you know, a lot more people are even starting to look at, you know, the native Microsoft RDS and VDI solutions that kind of come out of box. So the good news is that, you know, Five9, like I said, is not going to care so much about what that client OS is, and then full support for, you know, those other operating systems as well. Now, another big key point here is that you want to protect the virtual networks and you want to avoid appliances that are going to be protecting your networks. Although they do a very good job, there are some fantastic products that are out there. What I'm personally concerned about is the traffic that's going to be running inside of the virtual switches, not the traffic that's going to be going out through my external vSwitches. So when we take a look at the traffic that's coming kind of from appliance to appliance, you know, those do a great job scouting what's on the wire. But what if the traffic actually never hits the wire? It's sitting inside of my virtual switch as either an external network connection. As an external connection, those appliances can handle that traffic. But the moment that we start having internal vSwitches or private vSwitches, this becomes a problem. And this is important for those of you that are out there watching this webinar as, you know, hosting providers, because you're providing a lot of those types of networks to your customers where you've got internal networks and private networks that are fencing off those environments for your customers. All right, so with that, we're going to have a demo. Alex is going to do a demonstration for us of the Five9 firewall. Alex, are you able to take control of the webinar there?
Yep, thank you, Dave. While I'm switching over to my demo system here, I just want to briefly outline what I'm going to show. I'm going to show the virtual firewall interface within Five9 Cloud Security and the way we actually structure the rules to give you the highest efficiency in configuring them within virtual Hyper-V infrastructure. So with Five9 Cloud Security, you can actually get full access to traffic flying inside of virtual switches. Dave outlined this includes private, internal, and external virtual networks. So we are able to control that completely for you independently to where virtual machine is located from the network perspective. So that can be the same LAN, VLAN, it doesn't really matter. We are able to control all of these network scenarios, especially NVGRE that is being used as often within Hyper-V clouds. So with all that, we allow you to apply 3 main levels of firewall rules to each virtual machine to make the process go very simple, very straightforward, and give you great visibility of what exactly is happening when you're working on your virtual machine's firewall rules. So we have 3 main levels. These are all virtual machines level, the virtual security groups level, and individual virtual machines level. So on all virtual machines level, you can create firewall rules that apply to all virtual machines simultaneously, and therefore you don't really have to go and check if you have any firewall rules configured for one or another virtual machine. You can go and see all the rules that apply to all of your virtual machines at Defining Cloud Security Protection, and be that 50 machines, 500 to 5,000 virtual machines. All you need to do to apply a firewall rule to all of these virtual machines is just to go to this all VM section and do the rule in here. So you see we have a couple of rules in here, and one of them is actually ARP rule. So data link layer 2 rules are also supported. Security group rules are actually the ones that allow you to speed up the rules configuration process and configure firewall rules for groups of servers or virtual machines or per customer. That really makes the configuration process go very simple, and once again you can clearly see the rules that apply to the group and the members of this group, so the virtual machines that actually are within the group and the ones that get these rules. Virtual machines can be members of multiple groups, therefore the rules configuration structure can be very, very flexible. And of course, each virtual machine itself can also have its own firewall rules. So when you can configure that, that really allows you to achieve the highest flexibility. Once again, the visibility is superb in here because you can clearly see what rules apply to each virtual machine, and you can operate one rule or another from Defining Cloud Security Console. The creation process is also optimized for Hyper-V, and this includes standard networking techniques. Let's probably pick up one of the templates that are pre-built within Defining Cloud Security. So when you create a firewall rule, you can always leverage existing network techniques like binding the rule to a certain port, of course. That's what you're going to do. So remote IP addresses, ranges, or subnets. Remote MAC addresses if you want to tie it to a certain physical device. But what really makes Defining Cloud Security so special and so optimized for Hyper-V virtual infrastructures is the way to create a firewall rule that is based on remote virtual machines and remote virtual machine IDs. So to do this, you just need to open up selection of virtual machines, and when you want to create a rule, you just select them by checkboxes from the tree view. So you don't have to know their interfaces, addresses. You don't have to go through this long spreadsheet. You can't really make any typos while typing that in. So that itself saves you around 80% of your configuration time. Also, this approach of configuring firewall rules fully supports NVGRE. You don't have to really think about any IP address in there, and also is more secure because whenever you configure a rule that is based on virtual machine itself, this is virtual machine ID that we are using to create this rule. So even if someone, especially in host environment, tries to change IP addresses on a virtual machine for malicious reason or manages to change MAC address, the rule just keeps working no matter what, because this rule is based on virtual machine ID and it is not affected by IP address inside. With that, I would like to give my word back to Dave to continue the presentation slides here.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Alex. That was a fantastic demonstration. So let me just take a second, and I'm going to take back presenter rights. Kind of like passing a baton when you do a joint webinar like this, because we have to keep passing back and forth control. Let me just go ahead and see if I can bring back up my PowerPoint here.
It's up.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on. So the next thing that we'll talk about from a security perspective is, antivirus and, Hyper-V. This is a really interesting one for myself. Alex, and for the rest of your viewers that are out there, because antivirus is really hit and miss for a lot of the organizations that I visit on, a weekly basis, either as a consultant or, just going in there and to chat with them about, what they're doing with their virtual farms. You'd be really surprised to know how many customers actually don't run any antivirus inside of their virtual environments. And this is actually pretty scary because there's a lot of really nasty viruses that are out there today. And when I asked them the question about, why don't you guys, enable antivirus inside of your, virtual environments, their very first thing that they come back with is that there's too big of a performance impact on enabling those full scans. Because, when you go to do a full scan inside of a virtual environment, a full file-based scan, that can generate a lot of I/O inside of that environment. And, if you're not running on, all flash disks and you've got spinning disk in your data center, you can really make those disks start to thrash. And, this can cause a multitude of problems, least of which is, the wear on your drives because, you're hammering those arrays as you're going through and doing this. So that's one of the big concerns that, I've seen with customers today is that, we don't have a good and easy way to manage this. And so, those full file-based scans they have a very deep impact. Second thing is, with the way that a lot of people get around this is they're going to take and they're going to still do the full scans, but maybe they're going to do them in the middle of the night and off-peak hours. So now you've got a challenge where you've got to take and manage schedules to take and to deal with this. And if the schedules happen to overlap, now all of a sudden I've got, a multitude of those full file scans running at exactly the same time. So one of the things to think about is that, is it really a good idea to do nothing just because, you have performance issues in your data center? Well, I'm pretty sure this is going to cause some pretty deep, compliance issues for you in the organizations. And once again, you'd be very surprised as to how many customers actually take that approach. Now, if you do have antivirus running in your data center today, then you're probably doing a lot of work to take and to manage that. And so one of the things that that 5.9 is going to do to deal with this is they're going to introduce change block tracking techniques to take and to speed up, that scanning process. So, after an initial scan runs, you can think of, only having to go and check those changed blocks to see what's happening in there. I do a lot of work, Alex, and for the rest of you viewers, with Veeam software. And if you're familiar with Veeam software, it's a very similar approach to what they have for their backup solution, where they're going to do a full backup and then they're going to use change block tracking in order to take and speed up that backup process for their incremental scans after that. So this is a very, very important piece that, you can have a better solution out there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to flip over to my other demo environment here. So just give me one quick second. And I want to just demonstrate what one of these antivirus storms is going to look like. So just give me one sec. Let me take and see if I can pop over to my other demo environment. Hopefully my technology is going to work for me. So Alex, can you see that screen? I can't see my attendee view very well right now on mine. So if you can just, you can see it. Perfect. So I've got another one of these PowerShell scripts that I wrote, and this one here is called an antivirus storm. So let's go ahead and let's kick this off. And what this is going to do is it's going to trigger a bunch of full scans inside of my environment. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this.
You better be careful with that, Dave. Really, that may kill your system.
We'll just go ahead and say yes. Yeah, I know, but, and as you can see, we put a few warnings in here to prevent, what we'll call the Dave syndrome in your data center, where, go ahead and run this stuff, and we'll push it to the limits. If we're going to find problems, I just say yes, and let's go. And so now what's going to happen is this is going to actually go ahead and kick off a few scans on my system. My system's probably not going to get very happy with me here, Alex, as we go through and we do this. So let's go ahead and let's pull up our performance monitor. And we can see that we're getting a little bit busy for CPU usage here. I got some spikes up around 38, 40%. And if I go check my disk and my I/O, it's probably getting hit pretty hard right now. I'm currently consuming almost all of the RAM on my laptop, but you can even see that my memory is popping here. The system's working fairly hard. So what I'm doing in my demo environment is I'm actually repeating and looping through about, I think, 6 of my virtual machines. So we'll just go ahead and we'll let that run in the background. And while that's running, let's go ahead and log into one of my other servers here. And I'm just going to kind of manually show what this process looks like. So I've got System Center Endpoint Protection deployed in my data center, which is actually a pretty common configuration. And it's going to go ahead and kick off another full scan here. And as you can imagine, my systems are, not going to be very happy. And so this is kind of simulating what that kind of overlapping, antivirus scans are going to look like inside of, your environment. So I can think that, hopefully you can see from this demonstration that, this is a problem, and we want to, have a better solution for this. Let me come back to my deck here. See if we can get that up properly. All right. Can you see my presentation deck again there, Alex?
It is up on the screen.
Awesome. Perfect. So the best practice is probably not to do what I'm doing on my demo environment. And, Alex, maybe that's why my machine's acting up here a little bit, because I'm taking and I'm currently crushing it on one of my presentation laptops. So, that may or may not be, the best of ideas when doing a live webinar, but it's all right. So when we take a look at, what are some of the requirements of, protecting your networks and your environments is even beyond antivirus. We want to be able to, detect threats as well, as they're coming inbound onto your network. And so, for example, one of the things that Five9 is going to give you the ability to do is not just antivirus. It can also deal with, intrusion detection, and it can identify threats that are, coming along the wire. So, as malicious things are happening, we can detect some of those pieces as well. All right. So back to our antivirus storm that I'm currently causing on my other laptop. And I have a really funny story for you, Alex. I was doing another live webinar, and I seem to run these types of stress tests on my laptops, and I tend to actually burn them out. So my other laptop that I'm running that on is actually getting pretty hot right now. So I'm going to have to go through and turn that off in a little while to make sure that I don't wreck another laptop, because it gets a little expensive.
Absolutely. You can cook on it, I think, yeah?
Yeah, maybe I'll cook an egg. Maybe I'll cook an egg on that laptop. I don't know. So when we take a look at, the best practices here, we want to avoid those I/O storms, because if I'm currently cooking a laptop, you can just imagine what that's going to be doing to the servers inside of your data center. It's probably not going to be doing really good things for them. So, those I/O storms are going to decrease your virtual machine performance. And I can actually say they'll decrease your VM performance significantly. I didn't go into the task manager and show you the CPU utilization of that virtual machine while I was doing the full scan. But what I can tell you is that the CPU gets pinned. Every single time I do that, the CPU gets pinned to 100%. And those of you that are virtual administrators know that when you pin your CPU to 100% in a virtual machine, performance dramatically goes down. It is not a good thing. You're going to lower your host density. You're going to be able to get less virtual machines that are going to be running inside of those environments. That is very bad for, our customers that are out there that are looking at hosting with Hyper-V. We want to, prevent that from happening. And, it's going to trigger alerts, and it's going to generate, a lot of additional live migration traffic as well, because, there's just a lot more that's happening on those systems. So you're moving them around, and just general management becomes quite difficult. How Five9 does it differently, like I said, it uses its proprietary change block tracking driver, and it's only going to scan the data blocks that are required. This results in, up to a 70 times, not 70%, a 70 times improvement in the performance of your antivirus inside of those environments. So that's very important to understand those pieces. And I missed my animation on that slide, but that's fine. The next thing is having a good scheduling engine inside of there so that we can deal with that. You know, it'll ensure that it scales, it's going to meet all the SLAs, and you know, it's going to reduce our human error factors when we take a look at, you know, deploying a solution like that. And all right. So Alex, I think I'm going to hand that over to you for another demo. I know that one of our goals for this webinar was to take and have kind of a demo-rich type presentation. So I'll hand that back over to you, and whenever you're ready, we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at, you know, what Five9 cloud security antivirus looks like. So go right ahead.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, with Five9 Cloud Security Antivirus, we are actually offering 3 components that are related to antivirus protection and detection. So the very first one and the most important one is related to full system antivirus scans that are based on change block tracking. Indeed, the incremental scans that we are providing with Five9 Cloud Security are up to 70 times faster because you don't have to rescan the system over and over again, but you can actually choose what exactly to scan, and this is happening via help of CBT driver. So on our antivirus summary tab, you can actually view the status of all virtual machines from the antivirus perspective, and from one of these virtual machines you can see that we actually found a few viruses with our subsequent scan, and that scan actually took us just a few minutes. Actually, you can see that the process started at 7:32 and it was done by 7:33:05. So that was really, really fast. And once again, you see the number of files that we had to scan was just 184, and that's why we could do that quickly. So literally, it took us 40 seconds to do the entire full system antivirus scan of a virtual machine. So this is the one that actually saves you tremendous amount of disk IOPS, obviously memory, and CPU for your entire host. This is the way to actually increase your density and to ensure that your virtual machines are actually protected and they don't have any viruses inside. So these are full system antivirus scans that are happening by direct access to VHDX files with the help of CBT driver. The second component that we have for Five9 Cloud Security is called Active Protection Agent. So here in the agent stuff here, so you may consider that to be the same as endpoint protection, but not really. So these agents are absolutely Hyper-V optimized. These are very lightweight, so they actually do only real-time scanning inside virtual machines. And what's best of it, these are optional. So you can actually do full system antivirus scans several times per day. And if your system is not that heavily loaded and you don't really want a real-time engine running inside, feel free not to use that. But we recommend to be installing that just because it does real-time tasks. So it never needs network connection for updates. It never needs a network connection for transmitting data between our services and telling us if that detected viruses, because it's all Hyper-V optimized. So actually, Active Protection Agent right inside a virtual machine from Five9 Cloud Security just can be installed from the console itself. You don't even need to have access to a virtual machine. It's absolutely optimized because it uses Hyper-V optimized techniques to actually exchange data, and it never can cause any antivirus update storms, any full system scans, nothing of that. So this is the real-time agent running inside a virtual machine that is purely Hyper-V optimized. And by the way, this is the only agent-based technology that we're using within the product. And once again, this is optional. And the last base of that, so this is called Network Traffic Scanner. This is the component that actually allows you to detect viruses on a virtual switch level directly. Currently, we're doing that for HTTP protocol, and this is absolutely guest house agnostic, so you can actually detect viruses flying to from virtual machines on HTTP protocol that is responsible for absolute majority of infections inside your virtual environment. So this is Network Traffic Scanner. Once again, we have 3 components for antivirus protection, and all of these are available immediately for you with Five9 Cloud Security for Hyper-V. So incremental full system antivirus scans that happen agentlessly, Active Protection Agents, and Network Traffic Scanner. With that, I would like to give my word back to Dave to go on with the presentation here.
Awesome. Awesome. Once again, thank you, Alex. That was another fantastic demo. Let me take back control here and see if I can get back to my presentation. All right. So I don't know why it flips off my presentation like that. Okay, can you see my screen again there, Alex?
Yes, you're up.
Awesome. So, all right. So now let's just take a brief moment to discuss some of the best practices. You know, we looked at this technology. It looks good. But how does this actually take and scale inside of an enterprise? So, you know, Five9 cloud security architecture is very scalable. So we can take and we can have redundant management servers in a management group. We can take and connect to a SQL cluster so that we make sure that we've got high availability there. We've got the ability to take and manage at branch offices. We've got synchronization services to make sure that that things always stay in sync. And you know, we've got a great UI that provides manageability. And so this is going to lead into our next section that we're going to be talking about in a second, which is, you know, not just having that great console that's been built by Five9, it's also the ability to manage this via PowerShell. There are also published Windows Azure Pack extensions. So if you are a hoster and you need to provide this inside of your WAP environment, there's full support there. And there's also console add-ins for System Center Virtual Machine Manager. So, you know, you can manage best of breed in kind of whatever platform you're looking at, which is great. So the next thing that we want to take a look at is, you know, sometimes some of these threats that are coming inside of, you know, your organization are going to be coming from, you know, various sources. So, you know, Alex, I noticed on one of the tabs that, you know, there were some intrusion detection capabilities inside of Five9 Cloud Security, which is great. So not only are you going to get antivirus, firewall protection, you know, your network traffic scanner, you're also going to get intrusion detection capabilities as well, which is great. And then, you know, as bad things are happening, you know, Five9 Cloud Security is going to be analyzing what's going on inside of your virtual environment, detecting what is normal traffic, what are normal traffic patterns for, you know, particular virtual machines. Then, if something bad happens and you get some unusual spikes, alerts can be generated based on that, which is, you know, incredibly useful, because the big concerns from a Hyper-V security standpoint are it's the things that we don't know that are happening, and so you could be getting those spikes in traffic at a specific point in time. This is great to take and to try to figure out, you know, your root cause analysis, which is amazing. The other thing is the full logging and full logging capabilities of Five9 as well. So we can take, and with Five9 Cloud Security, we can take and we can push the logs to any syslog server that can accept that, so any third party, or, you know, one of the newest ones that's available from Microsoft with their Azure platform is their operational insights. So we can also feed that information into the cloud to take and to log and analyze these security events, which is actually very important. All right. Okay, a couple more things here is that, you know, when you take a look at, you know, general concepts of security, you can't trust your end users or consumers of the technology. You know, the public is now using these resources that you're providing, and you have to make some general assumptions in regards to security. First one is, you know, you can't expect them to do things on their own, or, you know, the events are looking at this to do these things on their own. We have to manage the security for them, and we would be talking here probably in the context of, you know, a hosting provider, and these would be their clients that would be inside of their environment. And so what we really want to do is be able to manage the security for them, manage the update signatures for the antivirus platforms, and make sure that they can't hurt themselves by accidentally disabling security, either on purpose or with or by accident, or maybe they've actually got a bad intention when they're doing this. With that being said, we can do all of this management and view all these user actions right from within System Center Virtual Machine Manager. Some of the other pieces that we have is going to be, you know, you want to take and you want to isolate everyone. you know, isolation is very important inside of the cloud environment. And this leads into kind of my last favorite piece that I've got with Five9 Cloud Security, Alex, and I have to congratulate your developers for the way that they've actually built some of these UIs. I'm a really big fan of these. And one of my big ones is the ability to enable quality of service through those network ports very easily, so we can have minimum and maximum bandwidth there, so we can control what's being sent and what's being received going through those ports. Very, very cool stuff. And the last one is for security and hosting providers, the ability to provide security as a service. So security as a service is incredibly important. We need those checkboxes in our Azure-like data centers. So the beauty of this is that Five9 has spent a ton of R&D work and development effort into building their now released Windows Azure Pack extensions. So you can now see your Five9 Cloud Security in your very own Windows Azure Pack extended environment. Simplifies this, and we can take a look at the full configuration. So with that being said, hopefully, Alex, I'm not getting reeled in here just yet. I'm really hoping that we've got time for you to do one more quick demo, because there's a few more cool things that we have, and then we'll probably end up wrapping up the webinar after that. So hopefully Maria's not giving us the hook because we're going over on time.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I'll try to be very, very brief here. So actually, we do provide IDS functionality within Five9 Cloud Security, and this is something I'm going to demonstrate over the course of next couple of minutes. So Five9 Cloud Security uses Cisco Snort to actually detect malicious and suspicious network activities flying inside your virtual switch. This is a very precise way of doing that, because this is the very first connection point inside your Hyper-V infrastructure. So what we do, we detect the malicious activities, which tell you what exactly that is, and you can actually go and add blocking rule out of Five9 Cloud Security Console directly. And this is also very important from the compliance perspective. Whenever you have to comply with certain standard, one of the requirements is actually intrusion detection system in most of the cases. So this is what we also offer for your virtual infrastructure. I'm also going to show you briefly our integration with System Center Virtual Machine Manager. So if you're using that, you can actually use our free add-on for that to centralize all your Hyper-V system management as well as Five9 Cloud Security Management. So you can use the same SCVMM console to actually go and set up all the features of your Hyper infrastructure, right, and all the features of Five9 Cloud Security. And as Dave outlined, we've also created an Asia Pack extension that actually split into two portals, integrations to admin portal and tenant portal. And this way you can actually go and provide services to your customers based on Five9 Cloud Security. So you can actually go and add on top of your existing offering with security as a service with Five9 Cloud Security by offering intrusion detection system, virtual firewall, and network traffic scanner to your customers within your infrastructure. So obviously, this is something that you can leverage to build the extra margin on top of your virtual machines. With that, I would like to give my word back to Dave, and I think we're ready to go over our questions.
Yeah, for sure. So Maria, I think what we can do is, I think we're going to wait for the last poll question. I think we've got a few questions that are set up here. Let me just take back presenter rights here, Alex.
Sure.
Just taking back the baton on here. All right. And there we go. Can you see my screen again?
It's up and running.
Awesome. So with that, we'll kind of wrap up the presentation portion of the webinar. And you know, some of the best practices are, you know, we want to maintain your compliance requirements. You know, virtualization and cloud security is very different. Your regulators are going to require it, and you know, your customers expect it. So doing nothing, Alex, is just not a good alternative anymore. So the good news is with Five9 Cloud Security, there is an easy way to take and fix these issues and these problems. You know, your hackers are going to know how to exploit things, and we want to take and kind of move through. So Alex, why don't we take a look at some of the questions that we had coming in? Maria, do we still have a couple minutes for questions, or did I kind of use up all of our available time already?
No, please go ahead with questions.
All right.
Yeah, let me do this. If you know, I'll go over first question for today. Actually, we have a question from George. What antivirus engines do you use for your product? Do you want to take that, Dave?
No, you can go ahead. You can go ahead, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so we actually use Kaspersky antivirus engine. You know this is the worldwide leader of antivirus vendors, and they also present Gartner Magic Quadrant and the leading section. And we are also using ThreatTrack antivirus engine. So this is a spin-off of G5 company. So if you ever used G5 Viper, so now it's called ThreatTrack Viper. So this is one of the engines that we also offer with the product. So you can choose one or another, and we also have plans on actually partnering with a few more antivirus vendors to expand the list of supported antivirus engines.
Awesome. So Alex, I've got one here that was one of the write-in questions at the start of the webinar that I think I can go ahead and take here. It says, are there any IOP hits when running this on the host? And that's just such a fantastic question. And I think we addressed that a little bit in the demonstration with the antivirus IO Storm. And so when you use 5.9 cloud security and the change block tracking mechanisms, the short answer is no. You don't take a big hit on your IOP in your data center. You're going to be able to get a greater density of guest VMs running on those hosts. So that's very, very important and a good question. So the answer is no, you're not going to take a huge IO hit to use this.
Okay, I got another question probably directed to you, Dave. What is the availability of your book?
so the which book, I guess. So so I've got one of my books that's up on Amazon right now. You can check and you can just do a search. And the next book that I've got is actually going to have some 5.9 cloud security components, and it's going to be called Building the Modern Data Center and with Hyperconverged Infrastructure. And 5.9 is going to have a good featured component in there. Hopefully, I say loosely, it's supposed to be done at the end of July, but I got pretty busy. So I'm hoping now to have the writing portions done by the end of August, and the book will probably be out in October.
Right. Thanks, Dave. Let me take another question here. It's regarding the Azure Stack support. So do you plan to support Azure Stack? So yeah, definitely. As you know, Microsoft is going to actually announce Azure Stack with 2016 official release. That's actually going to happen next year. We are definitely planning to support that. Obviously, there is not a really big difference between Azure Pack and Azure Stack from our perspective, from what we see right now. So we are planning to actually support that as soon as it is available. Please stay tuned. I can't really give you a timeline for that yet, but that's definitely going to happen.
So Alex, I've got a question here. This one's probably directed towards yourself. What is on the roadmap for future releases of 5.9 cloud security? So what's coming down the pipe for this product, some of the new and cool things?
We've just added the heuristics analysis for network statistics. So this has just happened, right? And that's available with version 6 of the product, as well as rules with time frames. What we are actually going to expand there, so we are going to actually expand the number of supported protocols for a network traffic scanner, so the agentless antivirus portion that's doing real-time network scanning. The plan is to add another 4 major protocols by Q1 2016. Also, we are indeed planning to actually add in some IPS portion into the product, but I can't give you any timelines on that. So we have a question if IDS can actually trigger an action. It actually triggers the notification to administrator, and that actually arrives at just the same moment when it got triggered. But its detection, you have to take your decision on whether you want to block that or not. So IPS is planned. You can leverage centralized login systems and triggers in SQL database or syslog server to launch up our PowerShell scripts. By the way, PowerShell automation is supported by Five9 Cloud Security, but currently this is about IDS, intrusion detection. So we are looking forward to actually expanding that with prevention mechanism. So yeah, that's probably pretty short and no plans with the product.
Awesome. I think we maybe take one more question here, Alex, and this one here is Five9's dependability for the cloud. And I know that a lot of work that I've been doing as a technical evangelist and with the sales teams at Five9, this product, Five9 Cloud Security, is incredibly popular with hosters. Especially those that have made an investment in Microsoft technology around Hyper-V and or Windows Azure Pack. And so they're some of the largest hosting companies that I know of that have actually taken and picked this up. I can't really mention names, not allowed to, but yes, is very, very dependable for the cloud. That's a very good use case for this.
Absolutely, thank you, Dave. Yeah, indeed, that indeed helps to provide security as a service as well as providing the backend security for hosters. So that's very, very popular.
All right, I think with that, that's probably going to be our last question there. I think we'll probably end up wrapping up with that. Maria, thank you very much for your hard work in putting on this Hyper-V Black Belt Security Design webinar. Alex, your demos were absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. And I think we'll probably end up signing off with that.